Yeah, what is going on, everybody? We bike with another episode of From My Experience podcast. I am your host, Rob, and I just want to say that I hope you are doing well because I am doing fantastic. Y'all already know I got my co-host with the most with me, Jessica. How you doing?
I am well, and how are you? Well, you're fantastic, clearly.
I am
I'm doing
fantastic.
well.
You
It's been
supposed
a
to sing
great.
back. You supposed to sing back to me, but that's okay. We'll catch you
Oh,
next time.
I am doing well.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was like a plethora of octaves.
Not a plethora. Oh my goodness. Y'all already know how we do. Shout out to everyone who supports the show on Instagram, FME_podcast. Thank you all for also joining the Facebook group and engaging in conversation there. From My Experience podcast on Facebook. Like the page, join the group. Don't forget about our affiliates down there in the description. We have Garner's Garden if you want natural skincare and oral health care products. We also have Acre Gold if you want to invest in gold bars. It's a monthly subscription. We also have Retro Mimi for those retro gamers like me, pocket size gaming on the go. And our newest affiliate, Black Water, that is BLK Water. It's water that's actually black. Check those links out and get you some good products. I've used them all, except for Retro Mimi, but I've used them all and I was very satisfied with my experience. So please do that. Now, we have been blessed and we have been on a roll lately with fantastic guests. And today is no exception. Make sure that you have a pen, a pencil to write down some of these gems because I know we're going to get some gems from this wonderful young lady. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us a Broadway actress who currently lives in Los Angeles, California, and she is writing and developing her own projects currently. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Chante Carmel. Woo!
Yay! What's up, y'all? What's going on? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored. This is my first podcast.
Welcome. It's gonna be a good one. Just from the pre-show that everybody missed, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of good conversation going on this afternoon.
Hey, look, I'm with good people, so let's do it. I'm ready.
All right, so I have to start with this. In my research of you, I saw that you fell in love with ballet dancing and singing at the age of 5.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I started dance really early doing ballet tap. I went to this dance school in Leimert Park called Dance Wonderland. And it was so much fun. Me and my little sister, we took dance forever together. And then I ended up teaching over at Blue Dancering Company, which then got taken over by Dada, Debbie Allen Dance Academy. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love it all. I took my first musical tour with the Crenshaw High School Elite Choir. Shout out to Iris Stevenson, who really got me started on this path. At 8 years old, I was a featured soloist.
Ooh.
Yeah, I started really, really, really young.
Yeah, I did see that. This is what blew my mind because we talk a lot. Jessica's Instagram name is Exposure. Exposure, so play on words. And we talk about exposure a lot and exposing our young people to things. So you traveled the world before the age of 13.
Oh yeah, I had already been, by the time I was like, maybe 15, I had been to Europe 3 times already, traveling with the Crenshaw High School Elite Choir. Under the, with Iris Stevenson, she took the choir everywhere. Actually, the movie Sister Act 2 is based on her. Her coming into Crenshaw High School and exposing the kids and making them a choir and putting the choir together and then taking that choir, winning competitions and traveling all over the world.
Wow.
Yep.
So I want to hop in really quickly because what impressed me the most with your story is how many disciplines you have. Like, I am a creative artist, and I dibble and dabble in a lot of different things, but I'm like, sis does ballet, dance, acting, theater, film, vocal, classical drama, just so many varying disciplines. And uh, how how do you hone in, like, how do you, what's your process when you're going from each discipline? How do you move through that and then still honor, like, your, like, who you are, what you want to bring to the table?
Over the years, finding what I really loved has been it's ever changing. So I did start in dance, but I would at no point could call myself a dancer anymore. I am a singer who moves well. That's
Okay.
that I fit into. I'm not ashamed of it. Yes, I can pick up a routine, but all of the things that you see real ballerinas, I'm not. That's not me anymore.
Got you.
I moved out of that. The transition really happened when I went to college. I didn't go to a school that had a musical theater major. So,
Okay.
like theater, dance, music, pick one. And I tried to do dance and theater, but all the classes kind of clashed with each other. So I couldn't do both of the majors. So I ended up, once I saw the other girls too, when I got to college, I was like, oh, this is what y'all doing?
You saw them frolicking about gracefully.
I said, no, sign me out. I said, no, 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 no. I said, this is definitely not my journey. Blessed to have grown up in the discipline of dance, because what it does do is it teaches you how to discipline yourself, coming to class, learning a medium, uh, being able to pick up, understand your body. Dance is really fundamentally about understanding the way your body moves and movement. Um, and learning that at an early age, especially if you want to be an actor, is extremely important. Even when I switched to the theater school, we had movement classes. So we understand how the body moves, so we can embody characters from head to toe, because everybody walks different.
Right.
Everybody kind of, you want to be, how does a crackhead walk? How does a woman who's really sexy walk? How does a woman who's kind of a tomboy walk? So all of that, being able to embody a character is all physicality. So you really do need to understand your body and the way it moves, so you can bring a physicality to different characters that you're playing. I also, during college, I had a record deal. So I was really into music. Really, yeah, I know.
Your response, yeah, I know. Yeah. What?
Right.
I think about it and I'm like, how did I do all of these things at one time?
Yeah.
Which is like, I look back and I go, wow, I was like really, really, really busy. At the time, I was just kind of like, okay, did I do this? Then I leave college and I drive back to LA and I spend the weekend in the studio, come back to school. But I also learned that I love music. But there is a beauty, a gift to being a musical artist, to being someone like Erykah Badu, to being someone like Jill Scott, to being a Beyonce, really bringing your artistry and creating who you are. And I was not in love with that process. What I did know with musical theater is that I could mimic well. Somebody could give me a character and I can go, okay, I can build the character from what you've already written, and I could sing and develop things that way. That made more sense to me, to become a character within a story, than it did to just, Erykah Badu has created an essence. How did she do this? She just became authentically this beautiful aura of a thing that people gravitate towards. And I'm like, I'm just a normal little Black girl from the hood. I don't know.
You're definitely not normal. You're extraordinary with some of the things that you've done.
Yes.
I wanna touch back on your music. I dabbled in that field a little bit. And there was just a lot of things to navigate. I used to write, but it was mentally taxing for me personally. It brought out a lot of emotion. So I know what you mean. Like, just to hear, like, you know, what artists sing about and talk about, that takes a lot. Like, a lot of that comes from personal experience and things of that nature. So what are some of the things that helped you get into that creative space when it comes to just writing? Because I see that you provided music for movies and shows and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things we wrote about were being young teenage girls. I think we had a song on the Jamie Foxx movie, "Sweet Like Candy, Sweet Like Candy, Baby." Oh, love. It's just like, little teeny bopper stuff, So we could do things like that. And then we wrote a song for Save the Last Dance, that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was not writing alone.
Mm-hmm.
Writing never came easy to me when it came to the medium of music. Now, I write scripts. I'm writing a book right now. And as difficult as those things are, it makes more sense to me in my brain. It is very difficult to take your emotions and drop them into 16 bars.
Yes.
Like, everything I'm feeling is not going to fit in 16 bars. I monologue to tell you how I'm feeling. And I have to make it catchy? No, none of this is going to rhyme. It's not going to rhyme.
Yeah, the rhyming part be like,
And I have to be clever? Oh, man. So I'm clever, but just in a different way. But you have to try all of these different things. You talk about exposure. I had an opportunity to try all these different things and say, no, actually, this is where I fit. And figured that out, everything fell into place. And musical theater was the thing that I was like, I get this. I get singing my heart out on stage, belting from my diaphragm, and telling a story of these dream girls, telling the story of Martha Reeves, telling the story of Nala. Like, that makes sense to me. I can tap into that and do it effectively, I think.
I'm like smiling again. Like, I'm known for smiling behind, I think, the microphone, because I just hear these stories and I'm like, wow, that's it. Like, to take something so complex and then finding your own path in it. I think that is where a lot of people struggle. They think that because I have a talent or a skill in one discipline, that's just what I'm supposed to be doing. But for you to break that apart and say, like, but that's not where I was called. Like, it's a little bit of a tweak. It's a little bit of a different skill set. And I'm more passionate about this. And this is where I want to hone and focus my energy instead of just, when you are talented and when you are creative, you have so much is boiling up, and you have to kind of dissect that and say, yeah, I can do this, but this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to even be better at. And this is where I want to funnel my energy. And so just hearing you talk about it and like the expression on your face as you shift from those mediums, just talking about it, it is like, yeah, I can see that your passion is there and that's where your purpose lies. So
I mean, I've had like moments of being in a studio for hours. I love the studio, I really do. But writing in the studio to me sometimes was miserable. I was like, I'm not good at this. I'm not coming up with anything. It's late. And I'm a night owl, but you could take that same experience and put me in a 99-seat theater in a house where nobody is even showing, and I am like having the time of my life. It's like night and day. Like, just really going back to exposure. And, I'm so passionate about kids because I always feel like especially, people of color, if we were exposed to more things, people would be able to find their passions earlier on in life. But sometimes we're only exposed to a limited amount of opportunity.
Right.
And when we fall in, basketball, football, baseball, if I'm not good at those three sports, maybe I'm not good at sports.
Or life. And it's a trickle down. It's like,
right, but how come you can't be great at fencing?
Right.
Know if you're going to be great at fencing because you weren't exposed to it, or being an equestrian, or being a squash player. Do you even know what squash is? You know what I'm saying? I've seen, other people of other races excel at sports where you don't necessarily have to be the biggest or the
fastest, strongest.
None of that. And they still go on to win Olympic gold medals.
Right.
They've been exposed to those sports that make them feel like they can conquer the world. And I think that that's important in our young people. Exposed to something, even in theater. When I go to theaters across the country, behind the scenes, there are not a lot of us back there.
Right.
I'm talking about the riggers and the grips and the people doing the stage managers, the company managers. There are not a lot of people of color behind the scenes because we don't even realize, and maybe I'm not the best actor on stage, but yeah, I know how to make this whole set. I know how to build this whole thing. The carpenters, you know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, our carpenters make more money in theater than anybody.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Are cleaning up. The people on our crews made more money than half of the artists.
Wow.
I need to look up trade schools after this interview. You
That to your
exposure.
Yeah, that and I'm glad you said that. I didn't even think about that. A friend and I, shout out to Shannon Ugly, and Janelle Marvin, my two co-workers when I was starting my career in elementary school. We started a theater club at our elementary school. They had all these schools have stages. They have a backstage area. They have dressing rooms and no theater program. The kids just go up there for awards. And I'm like, we were like, let's do this. And I did notice that a lot of kids that look like us, our black and brown children, a lot of them didn't want to try out for it. A lot of them didn't want to do it. And so like the second year I started recruiting. I was like, hey, you're funny in class and there's a character in the play. They only have about 5 or 6 lines, but I want you to try this. Or, hey, you draw really well. I want you to help us with the set design and costume design. So I started placing them in different roles because, as a kid, they don't like standing up in front of anybody anyway. So just exposing them to that and then hearing years later that they still remember. Those kids, 4th and 5th grade, I saw some of them, when they were in high school, and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Wilson, I remember when 1, 2, 3, 4, 5." I'm like, "You remember that? I barely remember that." But I'm glad I exposed you to something. So you're right about that exposure piece.
Yeah, I mean, there are girls who I saw in high school who could beat a face like no other. I'm like, how are these girls so dang good at makeup? Now, mind you, that is not my gift. It's not something I'm called to do. I can't color in the lines. I'm not that type of an artist at all. But where's the program that shows those girls how to get into a union? Because, once again, you go behind the scenes at some of these major movie sets as well, and there are not a whole lot of us doing makeup. There are not a whole lot of us doing hair, even though we got the best hairstylists in the country. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you don't know how to get in. There's a lot of nepotism. There's a lot of different things that prevent you from getting into those correct unions to be able to become successful in that area.
Tell us about your experience at Cambridge. I saw that and I thought of that commercial from the 90s. I'm not going to say it because I'm telling my
Cambridge.
age. Yes.
I played Hamlet at Cambridge.
You remember?
That's one thing about theater.
It was a Sprite commercial.
Yeah, it was a Sprite commercial. Yep.
Best commercials ever made. Because they're like, yeah, drink Sprite. Do it now. What's my motivation?
Yes.
I don't understand what my motivation is.
Theater people are my favorite. So a couple of, I guess, I've done 3 plays in the last 4 years. And in doing that as an adult, like I did some theater as a child, and as an adult, just being around theater people, it is the most unique experience. And it made me feel so normal for once. Like, just in my own exposure, I realized that I probably belong with these people because they will break out into the most random voices, and it's like it's watching a screen and the curtain coming down and then back up and it's a whole nother person, and it's like every time there's all of these unique like skill sets all balled up, and they're just so bold and expressive in that. That was my favorite part of just being in those plays. Like every day I would walk in, it would be say 10 people, but by the end I have talked to 25 people because all 10 morphed and became somebody else in the middle of the performance and then came back. It's a very interesting group of people. So just in this conversation, I've noticed that in you, how the roles just come up. They pop up, they go away. They pop up, they go away. And then, I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, we're crazy.
We are.
Y'all are
and I'm not even
juices.
on the level. I'm not trying to put myself on your level at all. It is an interesting piece. Like, it's like, and then you go from one thing to the next thing so.
Yes, that I mean, and it when there's a bunch of us together, oh boy, hold on to your seats.
Yes. And so is theater your favorite discipline?
Musical theater.
It's
musical theater, yes.
Musical theater.
I mean, but I like it all. I probably would say I like it all pretty equally. I started in film and television. I started in television. I was reoccurring on A Different World as a kid. And then I did a bunch of TV stuff before I went to school and got really heavy into theater, and really understanding a lot of things that I was just like never really taught in theater class. You know, I just got to explore the medium a lot more. Loved going to Cambridge. The program I was in at Cambridge was so dope. I got to see, go to all the theaters. So we went to like the Globe in London. We went to Stratford-upon-Avon, where the Royal Shakespeare Company plays. That's where Shakespeare's house is. It was just dope. You know, I got to study magical realism, some theater. But I mean, mind you, I was like 20 and kind of just a teenager, and you can drink at 18 over there.
Hey.
So there's a lot of partying going.
You were living your best life.
Yeah.
Safe to say.
Because like Cambridge is like a small little town out like 2 hours outside of London. And they've got a train that shoots straight up to London that you can catch. So me and my best friend were actually, she was in the theater program at UCLA, and I was in the theater program at UC Santa Barbara. So we would just be in London every weekend.
Must be nice.
The best part of Europe. You can get on a train and go anywhere. Like there's so many different places that connects to.
If we had more money, we'd have hopped on that fast train to Paris, but we were young and poor. Just lucky to be over there. So, but yeah. It was really cool. It was really dope. Definitely, I will never forget. So in the Globe, at the Globe Theater, it's styled exactly how it's always been. So there's a row. There's like maybe 3 rows of seats, maybe 5 rows of seats, and then everyone else stands.
Mm.
And like, you know, Richard III is the play that I saw there, and like Richard III is 3 hours. So you're standing for 3 hours.
3 hours.
That's how it's always been. That's how it's always been. And thankfully, we ended up squinching in and getting some seats, like by the skin of our, like, just get in here, girls. But
wow.
Yeah, it's quite an experience. It's quite an experience going there and seeing that and being able
I take it those seats are very expensive, or is it?
You know, I think it was a part of the program. So we didn't pay to get in there. I think it was a part of whatever the abroad program I was in. The theater in Stratford upon Avon was really beautiful. Royal Shakespeare Company. They did Twelfth Night, um, which is an amazing Shakespeare play. It was just it was an interesting experience to be there. Wouldn't
And do
trade
you
it.
still travel often?
Woo, well, I spent the last 5 years on tour.
Oof.
Wow.
So, yeah, I actually had, before COVID, I hadn't spent more than 2 days home in LA in almost 2 years.
What?
Wow. And I love to travel, so when I am always fond of people that travel, because my family and my friends, they're like, you're always gone, and I'm like, no, I know people that are really gone, and when you meet those people, I'm just like, tell me more, because I want to know what you do, because that is like my thing. Like I love travel.
In the past 5 years, I started with Motown the musical, and then I toured with them for a year, and then we went back to Broadway, and then we closed on Broadway, and then Dirty Dancing picked me up, so I toured with Dirty Dancing for almost a year, and then I had a little hiatus, and then I was on the first national tour of Waitress, the Sarah Bareilles musical, and then Lion King stole me from Waitress. And then I had been with Lion King for almost 2 years.
I gotta pause you for 1 second, because I just like how you just said Broadway and just tried to keep going over that. First of all, damn.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you said it.
I'm normally more chatty, but I'm just like, I'm so absorbed into you right now. What was that? So what was the transition from, college, obviously you're sharpening and honing your skills, to making it to Broadway and getting in some very I don't know theater worth jack. I was in a couple plays in college, so I kind of feel what Jessica was talking about, being around theater people. I love y'all as well. But when I was looking at the plays that you were a part of, I was like, oh, like I know these, and I'm the person who knows nothing. So that was really big for me. So what were some of those experiences like in auditioning and things of that nature?
Okay, I'm going to tell you my favorite audition story.
Yes.
You guys ready?
Yes, I am.
So first of all, none of this happened overnight. And when Motown picked me up, I went on a run for 5 years, and it was great. But it took me X amount of years to get to that point. Mm-hmm. Okay, and none of it was easy. And I've spent my fair share in regional theater and not making it to Broadway for a really long time. Let me just say that it did not happen overnight.
I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of people who think that it does. So I'm glad you keep it real with them.
Some people it does, though. Some people make it immediately. But if, for whatever reason, it didn't click. I had things to learn. I had to get better. I had to, whatever. When I came out of college, my first job, I worked for Disney Cruise Lines. So a lot of training there, working 6 days a week, living out on a cruise ship, living in the Caribbean. Amazing.
The food, the culture.
Oh my God, the men. Oh my God.
The men's.
Oh my God.
The men.
It was great. And then when I came home, I actually got on the national tour of Rent, and I did Rent for 2 years, non-equity. So what that means is I could wake up at 6 a.m., load onto the bus, we drive to the next city, and then we start a show and do a show that night. So they get one-nighters. And that was my life for 2 years. It was very hard. And then I came home and got into some regional Dreamgirls plays. I was like, okay, I'm on a roll, I'm running. And then I thought I had my big break. I got cast in this TV show, this web series called Buffy's.
I saw that.
Yeah.
With Ali and Robin Thede, both household names now, right?
Right.
Say those names again. Say them one more again.
Tatiana Ali, which we all know from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, whom we love and adore, whom I love and adore. And Robin Thede, who I also love and adore. She's done The Rundown with Robin Thede. She's on the
Black Comedy Sketch Show.
That's her.
Yep.
Girl sketch comedy show. So it was the three of us. We were like the three female leads or whatever to this web series. BET picked it up. I thought they were going to make it into a TV show, and I was winning. And then they didn't. And then it was like
freaking BET.
Back to the drawing board. But that's the business. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't work for a really long time. And then I was like so poor working at 2 gyms because I really love fitness. I was working at a 24-hour fitness graveyard because I was like, I have to be available for auditions. So I was working a graveyard shift. And then I was working at another like uppity, like Equinox type gym that's out here in LA. And I go to the callback. My agent calls me. He's like, oh, whatever. So I see the Motown people twice. And then weeks go by. Weeks. And I'm like, I didn't get it. And then finally, I get a call from my agent, and he's like, so, Berry Gordy is going to want to meet with you sometime this week. We don't know when. It could never happen. That was my agent at the time. We don't know. This could probably never happen. This was Monday. And I'm like, okay. Then we get the call, and he's like, okay, he wants to see you on Wednesday at his house in Bel Air, which is amazing. People can't see me, so I got to stop doing that. Which is
we see you.
So I get there, I sing Dancing in the Street, I do all the sides, and then he has me sing Dancing in the Street one more time. And he sits back, and it's just me, an accompanist on the piano, his assistant, and him. That's it. He sits back, and he looks at me, and he goes, okay, you won. Huh. It was, when I tell you, it was the definitive moment in my career. And his assistant goes, stop, you can't say that to her. We'll call your people.
She hating.
She was hating a little. Gotta love her though. So then I leave. I walk outside. I'm like, okay, thank you, Mr. Gordy. Thank you so much. And I'm walking to my car. And then this 80-something-year-old man comes running after me.
What?
To give me notes like, yo, at the end, can you do this better? Can you? And I'm like, I can do whatever you need me to do, Mr. Gordy.
Right. That would have been my response.
And also never feel like you have to run after me because I could have just stayed. But I was like, yes, Mr. Gordy, of course I could do that. I could do whatever, you know? And I just get back in my car. I drive down his very long labyrinth of a driveway. And I lose my shit. I'm just like, like, so that was Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
I get the call Thursday that they want to bring me onto the show. And I have to be packed and ready to start minimum a 6-month contract and on a plane by Saturday.
Dang! They move quick.
Moves quick.
You ain't get no 2-week notice at your jobs?
No. You know what I did? Because I did actually really love my job. Mm-hmm. At the time, I had just certified to be a trainer, and they had paid for it because they had like really believed in me. And I was like, yo, I got to start. I said, I got to move up. I got to start making more money. I think I'd make a really great trainer. So they sponsored me to become a personal trainer. And I had just gotten my training certificate.
Oh, man.
And took them my contract. And I sat them down and I said, look, here's my contract for the next job I got. I can't give 2 weeks. I said, I have to go tomorrow. This is my last day. And the guy just looked at me and he said, but I promise when this job is over, I'll come back. And he looked at me and he said, never come back here.
Oh,
wow.
He said, the only reason you should come back here is to be a member. And I never had to go back.
They wanted you to win.
All right, then COVID hit. I might be knocking on that door. So I know you said to never come back.
My certificate's still good.
But every year is closed.
Wow. So are you in any projects right now with COVID, or you can't talk about it, or are we going to get an exclusive? What does that face mean?
I want to know too.
Say who. I can't say who, but I will tell you.
Okay.
Me and 2 of my amazing girlfriends wrote a TV show.
Okay, so that's exclusive. We'll take it.
Hey. y'all got see. This is why we love y'all from My Experience podcast.
Being looked at right now by somebody who has been a mentor in my life, unbeknownst to her. Did I say that word right?
Yes.
Like, she's just like, she's that chick. But so you know.
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Stay tuned.
That means that we get to have you back when all of this news drops.
Please. You can drop that when I can drop that deadline on you.
Yes, yes.
It's real. It's official.
Now, this is a question I definitely want to ask you. I have quite a few friends. Shout out to my boy Carl Van CV. This question is for you, bro. That have, I guess, they find difficulty in writing a script or coming up with a concept for a show or a movie and seeing it through. So do you have any tips, or could you share some parts of your process?
You know, for me, I come up with this same thing, which is why when I decided to do the show that I'm doing now, I wrote it with 2 other writing partners, because that creates accountability. You know, and then you're not doing it alone, and you guys are kind of holding each other responsible for bringing it all together, setting deadlines. If you guys know any Virgo women, they're very smart.
Virgos.
Shout out to Virgos. Look, my life is surrounded by Virgo women who always get it done. I'm a crazy fire sign Sagittarius who's kind of has a million ideas. Are you Sag?
December 17th.
Oh, December 19th.
Oh, hey, I met another Sag.
Who kind of, I have a million ideas. And sometimes, because I have so many, the follow through sometimes falls off, but I link with my 2 other writing partners, and they're on it, you know? And it was easier for me to stay accountable to what I needed to bring to the table because I wasn't doing it alone. And that's if you're having a hard time finishing, I would say find a writing partner. Find somebody who's as passionate about it as you are, somebody that you trust to not steal your shit and go. And, you know, hold each other accountable to finishing. Set deadlines, do your research. You know, we embarked on something that none of us had ever done before. You know, none of us had ever. That's a lie. I've done it before, twice.
Don't you hate when you do that? Like when you find yourself down talking yourself, like in those moments when you recognize, no, I have done it. It's just like I've evolved in it.
Yeah. That's a lie. And so have both of those other girls. But this was just a good fit.
It's your first time together.
It was our first time.
That makes it different.
Together.
Right. I think sometimes it feels so different from the last time that it feels like a first, but it's just that we're evolving. Like we're not that I've never done it before, or you've never done it before. It's just evolution, and you're getting better.
And being around like-minded people. So these 2 women are as passionate about what we do as I am. They're also actresses and writers. One has been in multiple sketch comedy groups. The other young lady, shout out to my writing partners, Frederica Meek and Carla Mosley, whom I love dearly. Them. One girl is like a super successful actress. She was like on Bold and the Beautiful for years and years and years. But both of the ladies just completely down to earth for all the things that they've accomplished. Just easy, just wanting to do the work, you know, which is important. It's important, you know.
Yes.
It's very important. We were talking about that earlier today. Doing the work, you can't skip over that. Like you just have to do the work and figure it out and take a step and like you said, have people that you can throw that off of and be accountable with. And I think everybody's looking for the savior, and the savior is yourself. Like we are, like we have to do the work and we have to put in the work, and you meet people that align with that or you don't, but the work still needs to be done.
I'll tell you, I go to this place called the Ashram. It's like a hiking retreat. And maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I was there, and I was there with Queen Latifah and her manager, her long-term manager. And I got a chance to talk with him a lot. I know it's such a random story. The best advice, I actually quote him in my book. I tell this story about him in my book because it was some of the best advice I could ever get. You know, you see people like that and you're like, put me on. How can I come? How can I be down? How can you, pull me up? How come we don't ever pull each other up as Black people? You know, I mean, I didn't say it to him like that, but I was like, it would be great if I could work with the. And he was like, here's the thing. You're already surrounded by talented people that are on your level. You need to connect with those people, become a unit, and then all of you guys come up together. You know what I'm saying? It's like you look at these camps that all make it together because one person wasn't super famous and then they brought everybody up. They stayed the course as a team together. And I thought that was such an invaluable lesson, just because it was true. I'm around some of the most talented people who are just right here. We're all just kind of bordering this next level. We're almost to the next level, but how do we get to that next level? Okay, let's collab. What I did with some of my money from the touring was I invested in my dope friends.
Wow.
That was a nugget, people. If you didn't want to, if that was the part you write down, investing in your circle, investing in the people that you see the light in.
Yes.
That is the key.
Yeah, because if I see it, I know I'm going to get other people to see it. And I was in shows with people who were great, but creatively, the women that I'm working with are just, just ooze talent and creativity, and they're also just, say easy is the wrong word, but when you're working with they're open.
Yes.
Open to the possibility. You have to work with people who don't get stuck, who are able to take, I have an idea in mind, but I'm still open. If you bring something doper, I have to acknowledge that trumps what I did. All right. I've had it. Okay. That trumps now. That's what a collaboration is about. Staying open and finding what's going to be the dopest thing. You know what I'm saying? So
Gem drop.
I
feel like it's like jackpots of gems all of a sudden.
These are like, definitely ding, 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 ding. For like, everything you're saying is literally where I am in my life. Like, looking at, this is another thing that's hard for people. You got to reevaluate your circle sometimes, because if the circle is not moving and you're moving, it might be time to join and connect with another circle. And like the people, it's very funny. Not even a year ago, the people that I'm the closest and tightest with, we weren't even really conversing like that a year ago.
Right.
Because I moved, they started, like you said, they started seeing, and then they started attaching, and we started talking, we started collaborating. The openness, oh my gosh, we talk about this so much with people. Nah, I can't tell you that. Nah, what you talking about over there? Nah, you ain't ready for this. Okay, but if you just keeping it to yourself, you already not making it, so that's not really doing anything for you. But when you're open, people can point things out and say, hey, that's awesome. Have you ever thought about doing this? And then connecting it with this, and it's like, oh, snap. Yes, that just made my life easier.
Let's do that. I mean, the girls that I'm working with, we've known each other for 15 years. I met both of them doing different shows. One I met doing a 99-seat theater show here in LA, and the other girl I met doing Dream Girls in Texas, at Houston in Texas. And I think when we walked out of our last big meeting, one of the girls looked at me and she said, if you'd have told me 15 years ago that you and I would be creating a show together and this would be the outcome, I'd have, yeah, right. And I was like, I know. I mean, and once again, I will say this, things are changing for all three of us as women in the world. Finding what we're good at, finding what we love. And that love can change, you guys. You may love being on stage one day and only want to be behind the scenes another. You may love you may really want to be on television and then really find love in producing or directing, or don't be afraid to be open to what is really authentic to you and what brings you the most joy. Being on stage sometimes can sometimes not be as fulfilling as it used to be.
The growth. Jessica,
Yeah.
you got a burning question. I see it.
I'm just loving listening to like the nuggets of like evolution, and it's okay to evolve. It's okay to be open. It's okay to your mind to change. And I think that a lot of times that people just get stuck in that, where they're not wanting to, because we create these like these ideas of what we think we should be doing, because I've always done this, or I've done this for so long that it's too late to change. And as you evolve as people, I think it's just beautiful to watch, and also to be reaffirmed to myself and everyone listening that you can change. Like, you are the master writer in your life. You are the master creator in your life. And so if that's starting to feel a little bit like a chore, like, you can write it out. You can paint over it. You can create the image that you want, and not just a superficial image, but really the life that you want. Not really my question, but it just inspired me to say that, just listening to you. But I think my last question is, a while back you mentioned before COVID, you had, for the last 5 years, you had been traveling and not been home for more than 2 days. And so what is your COVID lesson? I think that all of us have been shaken up in this pandemic in some way. Some of us have had to be still. Some people are working from home. You have people teaching their kids. Like, there's so many different lessons that COVID has just kind of said, hey, I need for you to pay attention to this. I need for you to like look at this a little bit closer in detail. And so what has this season, what's your biggest lesson in this chapter?
Oh my gosh. So first of all, I was so happy when I wasn't happy that COVID happened, but to be able to come home, I had just bought a house in December and I hadn't slept in it for more than a night. So I came home in March and I hadn't been in my home. I hadn't unpacked boxes. I hadn't done any of that. Like, I was a stranger in my own house. I was happy to come home. I didn't know it would be for this long. But what I have learned through life is that, and this is just from my own personal, that God has got me. And to be still and always listen. There is a reason for everything, and it's up to you to remain diligent in whatever it is that you're doing. So before COVID hit, I had projects already that I was working on back here. I was already doing Zoom meetings with my friends. We were writing every couple of weeks. We had been writing this script for almost a year before it all hit. So by the time we got this break, we were really able to solidify everything, come together, finish it. With acting, if this is something that you want to do, you always have to be doing multiple things at one time. If that makes any sense. Like, it's never about the one thing. And if you're an actress, if you're an actor, you're a hustler. Always have multiple things going on. I think. I do real estate as well. So I own a pieces of property. I was able to come home and really manage those a lot better than I had been managing them from the road. Always try to find a way to have multiple streams of revenue, multiple streams of income. COVID was a blessing for me.
Same. Don't feel bad. Don't make that face.
Yeah,
Listen.
I was gonna say, I think it's over. Like, at least for the dreamers and the growers, we have so much going on, and we're constantly on the next thing and this thing and hustling and doing and doing and doing, that it feels so good to bring it down. And like, I'm going through that process right now because I actually had COVID a couple of weeks ago. I tested positive for COVID. And so right now I am actually in quarantine, and I just talked to Rob about that today. This has been the best experience. Like, after I got through the health ramifications of it and I knew that I was doing better and my health was improving, just mentally, emotionally, physically, like, I'm getting teary-eyed now thinking about it, because I was killing myself, like, in a way. Like, I was doing a process that my ego would not accept, was no longer working for me. And I was just going and going and doing and forcing. And like, it was like, when I look at her, and that was 2.5 weeks ago, that person was just like hitting her head against a wall, forcing pieces. And now I am just such in a season of attraction. Like, I am doing the things that are pleasing to my heart. I have dialed it back. I have cut out pieces that just were not serving me to my ultimate good. And like, all of that, I mean, we're talking 2 weeks of major growth here that is shifting me. Like, I feel like the Super Mario, like when you eat the mushroom, is like, and like, you all of a sudden I have grown like drastically, just by sitting still and having chats with God and listening to the stillness. And like, there's no one there, there's no filler, there's nothing. And like, this is just, I could have done this, we all could have done this before, but we didn't, because I think, again, ego, just the way we're wired, you're just trying to keep going. And when you're forced to be still, you look at things a little bit differently. And so like, as I get back to my the ability, I know I told Rob I'm gonna have to go out in the world, but I feel so much more equipped for the world, and a better version. Like, the world is gonna get the better version of me, like, when I go out, than just being in this time. So totally can relate to hearing you say that. And like, Rob, you've also affirmed that. We have to be still.
Having a season of doing the things I want to do versus doing the things I have to do.
Right.
And that just, there is a huge difference in that.
Yes.
Major difference.
Every day. You know, with musical theater, you work 6 days a week. You do 8 shows a week. So you're living, breathing. You're in your show clothes probably more than you're in regular clothes. And that's just your life. It consumes your whole life. And you try to fit in the things that you want to do around all of those things, right? You try to fit it all in, but at the end of the day, you're on that hamster wheel, show after show after show after show after show, and you have to show up. And there's so much discipline that goes into musical theater, especially because, you know, vocally, there's not, I don't usually talk a lot when I'm performing 8 shows a week. Because I have to save it. I have to say, this muscle is so fragile. You know, I got to save it to belt 8 shows a week. So it's definitely, you know, I don't know. I'm just happy to be home. I mean, like, you guys, I live in LA.
Yeah.
So the weather's always good. You know, I'm traveling around the rest of the country, and I'm like, why don't people live here? Like, where do you guys live here?
I'm in South Carolina. I'm not even in South Carolina anymore. I'm in Virginia.
So much weather. Those places have so much weather.
Yes.
LA, we have weather. I think it got down to like 55 the other day, and I had a whole attitude. LA, get it together. This is not the fall that I planned on. I still have my shorts out, so figure that out for me. So, you know, I do want to say before it goes out of my mind, Leslie Odom Jr. wrote a book called Failing Up. It is a great read. It's not a long read, but it is a great read. And when you talk about dropping nuggets and gems and things of that nature. This book is like, I'm gonna read you guys some of the quotes.
Story time with From My Experience podcast. But like she said, COVID, it's funny, it's been a blessing for me as well. Actually, God answered a prayer I've been praying since 2015. I asked him to remove anyone or anything that is not helping me move forward with my goals, dreams, and ambitions. And ever since COVID, I mean, every other month, whether it be a person, whether it be a bill or something of that nature, whether it be just negative energy, has just been gone. It's just been removed, and it's naturally just been removing itself. Or I'll be enlightened enough to see something or see a situation and speak up, say what I need to say, and be like, all right, this is no longer for me. I gotta go. You go that way, I go this way. No problem, no beef. I'm out. And I've been focusing on, the podcast, because this is like breathing to me. It's so fun. It's natural. It's easy. And I don't know what happened, but I would say August or September, everything has just boosted through the roof. The interviews I've been getting, you being one of them, have just been amazing. My friends are like, more of my friends are listening and say, Rob, you real serious about this podcast? Yeah, I have over 360 episodes, been doing this for a little while. And and they reach out and they connect me with people. And they say, hey, you should have this person. So I reach out. Or I see someone like you and I say, oh, let me reach out. Let me see. So I definitely feel you on COVID, being a blessing for some of us, just giving that time to, okay, now I can really rearrange and reorganize my life.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what it was for me. I was already manifesting coming off tour. I was already speaking it into existence. Like, these are gonna be my last couple of months. And then God just kind of threw everything into play. Like in 1 week, everything that kind of I was already like, I want to do this, this, and this, and it all came from COVID.
Congratulations.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say congratulations on your house and being able to spend time. I did real estate for, I'm getting old. I can't remember stuff. 4 years. So I know that process, the work that it goes into, and the stress and the inspections, and you finally close and you did all this and you picked that house. I know you picked a house and then you ain't even get to enjoy it. So I'm really happy that you got to just.
I bought the house and I knew I was going to be out on tour. And I said, you know what, God, I'm going to buy this house. And while I'm out on tour, I want it to be a safe haven for artists. My artist friends that come into town, I want them to be able to have somewhere to be. I'll set up the guest room. It'll be great, because it's so hard for people to find housing in LA, especially if you're traveling on a tour. They really bleed you. Like, it's so expensive. So I hadn't had that house a month yet. And one of my friends was like, can I stay at your house? And I was like, you absolutely can. And it's February. Can I stay at your house you absolutely can. And then I think I had a subletter in here who was supposed to be here until September, and then COVID hit, and he and I were living together, which was weird. Well, I mean, I can sublet to people, but I'm not looking for a roommate situation.
Right.
But he was an artist as well. You know what I mean? And that happened. I was able to, I manifest this being a house for artists. And even now I'm teaching now. So I've got a whole room set up for teaching and filming and doing all that. So it's just it's just what it is. Things that bring me joy. Things that legit bring me joy.
That is the key.
Invite them into your life, people. Invite those good things that you want and enjoy. So you have an excerpt for us.
I have a bunch. So Leslie Odom talks about, it quotes in his book, what step forward did you take for yourself today in the absence of the phone ringing? If you are an actor or an artist, stop waiting for the phone to ring. Stop waiting for somebody to give you something. Stop waiting for somebody to give you a job. Create your own work, and it will come. When even success starts to feel like failure, it's time to make some changes. It's not for everybody. Find your happiness, find where you fit, but don't be afraid to say, actually, I thought I loved this, but it's not for me. be open. Be open to change, be open to evolution, is what I got from these quotes. Now, you probably can read them. You have the permission to fail. I mean, that's every day with actors. We go on a million auditions all the time, and it's okay. You have the permission to fail. You can do a lot on your own, but no one can do it alone. Find your people. Find your people who are going to uplift you and be positive and support you. I remember the first time I wanted somebody to edit our treatment for this script. I asked, I said, you're my friend, you're in this business, it's great. And I said, hey, can you edit this? And before he would do that, he said, you know how hard it is to get a show sold? I said, that's negative. Don't come at me with the negativity. Just be my friend and help. That's all I need you to do.
Right.
People who are fighting for you and believe in what you're doing. And who will fight with you, and accountability partners, and just create that circle of love and of light. I know it sounds so cliche to say that, but it is real. You really have to have positive people around you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's really important. And then my mom's quote, and I usually hang this on my wall in the dressing room when I would go to different theaters. You are looking at the face of the person who's responsible for your health, your wealth, and your happiness. And that's usually the. So
say that one more time.
You are looking at the face of the person who is responsible for your health, wealth, and happiness. And if you put that on a mirror, it's usually you that's looking back.
I hope so.
I'm responsible. So
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
I got one more thing for you because I think it's important. And first of all, thank you for just so many gems. I cannot wait to listen back and edit this. Oh my goodness. You have no idea. You talk about being inspired by your family. So I wanted to definitely give you an opportunity to shine some light on them, because that is a beautiful thing that you have people behind you, especially your family, in the field that you're in, because I know that sometimes, especially in the Black community, when you're looking to do something that isn't easy, that seems like everyone is trying to get into, you don't necessarily get the support or the love that you need, because they don't think it's possible for you. They love you, they care about you, but they're like, you really gonna try to focus your energy to go to the NFL or NBA or be an actress? Like, you know how hard, like kind of like the negativity you're talking about. So I'm just glad that they inspired you so much. So tell us more about that.
My family's amazing. I started really young doing this, and they were behind me. They were my mom and dad really like pushed me. My dad tells this story. He says we were out in the Pier 39 out in San Francisco. And back in the day, I was very young. It might have been like the 80s. I was really young. They had these sound booths you can go into and just record a song onto tape.
Oh.
Background track, and you can go in and just record songs. And I was like very young, and I went into the sound booth, but it played out on the pier. And so I'm just singing this Whitney Houston song, and my dad says that the entire pier stopped to listen. I don't remember, but from that point on, he knew and understood that I had a gift, and he just did whatever he could. Now, my parents, my dad was a teacher, my mom was a librarian. Nobody's in the business. They had no idea what they were doing. It was literally fly by the seat of your pants, ask it. All right, so they just put me in whatever they could put me in to channel whatever it was, because I sung all the time. I think I went to Disneyland and I took my Walkman and listened to Whitney Houston the whole time we were at Disneyland. I could have cared less about Disneyland. Love Disney though. Go Disney.
I know. We have that in common. I worked for Disney too. I interned at Team Disney. I was a fairy godmother in training, and I also worked in the corporate offices. So,
Hey,
very cool.
The Disney difference, guys.
Yeah, I got Disney Plus.
The Disney point, yes.
It just stays with you. It just stays with you. I'm full circle with Disney right now. I've worked for their cruise lines, worked for Lion King, and then I'll be working for their theme park soon.
Wow.
Oh, I can edit that out. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's all right. I got the gig. Now we just gotta wait for Disneyland to open back up. It's fine. It's not a
Okay.
big deal.
Yes, because I love exclusives. That's all I have for you. Jessica, you have anything else?
I do not. It was such an honor talking to you. Thank you for the gems for those that are listening, because like for you to go grab your book in the middle of it and just wanting to like vibrate higher. Like Rob, like again, being around people that want you to get something. Like this is it was a very selfless act, and I just always enjoy these conversations. I enjoy what our guests have been bringing to the podcast, and thank you for being light, because it's not it's like you said, it sounds cliche, but to radiate in your own unique light. This is not just pick off, and show. It's like to be your authentic self and to show up and to give it what your spice to the table. I think that it's a beautiful thing to watch and be in the presence of, and so I'm always honored like when I get the opportunity for myself and like to experience your light, and for you to want to share that with our listeners. And so I don't know, I'm that one in the group.
I didn't even, you say I grabbed the book, but I didn't. This is what I used to have up on my dressing room mirror.
Wow.
Because I don't even know if you can see that.
Now we can see it.
There are points where you get so low on tour that you have to find ways to inspire yourself. So I'm really big on quotes.
Mm-hmm.
If I manifest my life, I have to be looking at it, I have to see it, I have to read it, I have to read it out loud. That's important.
Yep.
It's really important.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Write it down. There is so much power in writing it down.
Let me
like he's tired of he's doing that because he's tired of hearing it, probably because I am such a believer in the power of manifestation. And when you write something down, you have it is your wand. Like we're all looking for the magic wand, and your pen is your wand. Whatever you want in life, write it down.
When I wrote this, it says, I started fighting for my vision, my dreams, my ideas, my destiny. Some fights are not worth your time. Choose what you fight for wisely. This is something that I had to remind myself every day. Everything is not a fight. Or what am I fighting for?
Right.
Wow.
And those are the big things. You reserve your energy. Yeah. Like you have to reserve your energy for those things because they consume you. Being a creative, being an entrepreneur, being a person with vision, you are consumed by those things. And it takes so much energy to take an idea and to create out of it like the physical manifestation of it. And that's so much energy that you can't really spend it. Like we have a limited amount of capacity, and so you can't spend it in these areas dealing with everybody else's stuff. Like
girl,
you have to cut it.
Right there, say that.
You have to cut it and snip it, and you have to reserve your energy. Going back to what you said about your voice, like for the most important thing. And this is the thing that I'm passionate about. This is the thing that brings me joy. And so this is where I have to give all of my energy to, because those other things, while my ego may be like wanting to get involved into it, like it really doesn't serve me. And that's just it in a nutshell. So, whew.
Yeah.
What, Rob? He always gives me this like look.
I'm saving something for you.
Okay.
I'm saving something for you. I'm very proud of you right now. Just
okay.
Okay. So, Chante, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing so much with everyone. Do you have any parting words? Shout out your social media, things of that nature. I'll make sure I put it in the description as well.
Please follow me at I am Chante Carmel. That's it.
That's it. Do Y'all already know FME_podcast on Instagram. Join the From My Experience podcast group on Facebook. Like the Facebook page. Don't forget about our affiliates, Gardener's Garden, Acre Gold, Retro Mimi, and Black Water. And I want to encourage you all to continue to take care of yourself mentally, physically, and financially. And we will take care of y'all. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.